Welcome to Connecting to Spirit with Stacey, a weekly journey into the spiritual world with evidential medium Stacey Niedentohl. With nearly 10 years of experience offering transformative private, group, and platform readings, Stacey is also a passionate mentor, guiding students for over 5 years to unlock their intuitive gifts. She is the author of 2 impactful books, My Head Knows, But My Heart Still Hurts, a 30-day grief recovery journal, and My Crystal Addiction Diary, an exploration of crystal and stone energy for healing. So please welcome the host of Connecting to Spirit, Stacey Niedentohl.
Hi, and welcome to Connecting to Spirit with Stacey here on Bold Brave Media, streaming live as well as on other platforms. My name's Stacey Niedenthal. I'm an evidential medium, and this is Connecting to Spirit with Stacey, where I'll be your connection for the next hour with Spirit. So tonight, I thought, we would talk about 5 things that I have learned from Spirit. In being a medium, my thought process has changed from what I used to think to what I now think, and things that have been taught to me from the spirit world. So I thought we would take this hour and we would just kind of chat about them a little bit. But first, I wanted to talk to you about a quote that kind of rings in my head when I think about these things. And the quote is by Dr. Thelma, and it says, "When you heal, you hear what's being said without the filters of the wound." So think about it when you're going through grief, when you're grieving, there's this wound filter that makes things kind of, I don't know, almost like you're in water and trying to listen to someone talk to you, and things are just all confused and you're not exactly sure where to go and what to do. So in thinking about this quote, I thought it would be a great time to talk about the lessons that I've learned, the things that I've oh the things that I've seen from Spirit. And if this is the first time that you've tuned in, welcome. You'll see me here every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Like and subscribe on YouTube. But let's get back to some of the things that I've learned. So I've been a practicing medium for 10 years. Um, and how I used to think about death and how I think about death now is totally different. I mean, if you stop and you think about the things that are currently in your mind every single day, the things that you work with, the people that you talk to, death and grief cross my desk every single day. And when this happens, a lot of my clients will come through and they'll tell me that they are afraid of death. They're afraid of what's on the other side. And Spirit very boldly comes through and lets me know that death is not something to fear. Now, it's something that you don't want to hurry up, but it's not something that you want to fear. You know, we all live a certain lifestyle, and we all know that every day that we live is a closer day to the day that we pass. So, why fear the life that you're living before you graduate into the spirit realm? It's that ultimate path that we're on to live our best life possible so that we can be remembered for certain things or for living a full life. We've all had people in our life who have passed, and they lived such a full life. They didn't let any grass grow under their feet. They were not afraid to live because they probably weren't afraid to pass. Living in fear blocks all these adventures that you could possibly have. So the first realization that I received was, why fear death? It's not something to fear. It's not something that we can avoid. It's going to happen sooner or later. Every single one of us is going to leave this earth and we're going to graduate into the spirit realm. So don't fear it. And spirit describes the realm that they're in such a warm and a loving and inviting way that they've got this comfort level. And sometimes they'll say to me, I don't know why I was afraid of this. It was just the next natural step. So Spirit very much wants you to know, don't fear dying, and don't fear having someone that you love passing. It's all a natural part of life. And as you work through this fear, then you realize that fear is not the end of your existence. We've touched many, many, many lives in our life. We've had many adventures, whether you've had children or friends or grandchildren. They're still very much a part of the person who has passed. That person was their foundation. And I think about it like a house. I mean, the house that I grew up in, it's still there. In fact, my grandmother's house, um, I drive by it I don't even know, a couple times a year or once every few years. I'll drive back by it and I just get this flood of memories of my grandmother, of the car that my mom drove while we went and we picked my grandmother up, pulling into the driveway, how the house looked, how it smelled. I can hear her voice. I just have this flood of memories that go through my mind. In fact, when I'm having a particular tough day and I meditate, I go back to this small garden at my grandmother's house. It was down this, at that time, seemed like a large hill, but it's down this small hill. There's this big, like, weeping willow tree that was there. And she had this round garden that she had like slate blocks around it. And I can remember as a kid just kind of going around and around and around, whether I was, singing or daydreaming or pretending, but that was always like my happy place. And when I have a particularly hard day and I meditate, I visualize driving up to the driveway, getting out of the car, walking down the hill, touching this willow tree, and just walking around and around and around this garden. It makes me feel safe. And it makes me feel safe because this was a safe place for me as a child. It brings back fond memories of my grandmother, and she's never far away. So even though her body, her physical part of her is no longer with me, all the memories that I have of her still go around and around in my head to the point that even when I'm having a bad day, this is where I go. Now, I want you to keep in mind that my grandmother passed when I was in fifth grade. So that was over 50 years ago. But the sensation of being there and feeling her presence, even though it's in my mind, is very strong. And Spirit has left me know that even if they are no longer here on this earth, they're still here. They're still here in my memory. They're still with me, showing me, guiding me, protecting me. My grandmother, my great grandmother, my great great grandmother, all their DNA courses through my body. When I look at pictures of my grandmother when she was younger, my gosh, my mom looks so much like her. And I have this black and white picture that I can put my mom beside and I can put my grandmother beside. And they look almost identical. And I am told all the time, oh my gosh, you look so much like your mom in this picture. So she's still with me. She's right here within me. No matter where I go, no matter what I do, just because her physical body is no longer with me, she is still here. I wear her engagement ring on my hand, and there's times I have no other rings on, and I'll put my hand up and I can see my mom's hand. And I think to myself, she's walking with me. And I gotta tell you, when she was getting near the end of her life, I wasn't afraid of her dying. I didn't want her to die. But I wasn't afraid of that. I was afraid of how I was going to live without her. So it was kind of ego based in a way. At that point in time, I wasn't connected to the spirit realm like I am now. And I know that was my telephone line to the spirit world. After she passed, my gosh, she sent me so many signs and so many signals to let me know that she was around. And in thinking about that, that's the third big thing that spirit has taught me. They want you to know that they're okay. They send you signs, they send you signals, they send you songs. They'll bring things to mind for you. They visit you in your dreams. And dream visitations are a lot different than regular dreams. They feel different. They seem different, like they seem real. Like, oh my gosh, she was really there. I have clients, I have friends of mine who have had dreams about one of their loved ones who was sick. And they come to them in their dreams and they look healthy and happy and they have this short conversation with them, only to wake up the next morning and find out that their loved one has passed. Well, guess what? That loved one came by to tell you, I'm out of here. I'm leaving. You're important to me. And when we talk about signs and signals, some of the things that come through when I do readings for people, but you know what? It's not that they freak me out, but sometimes they're just so crazy. Like you can't make this stuff up. So I want to talk about the tingles that you get sometimes for no reason, or the smell of a perfume and no one's around, or the smell of roses or flowers or cigarettes. That's your loved one sending you a sign. So don't fear where they're at. Don't be um, don't be afraid that they're not with you, because they are, and they send you these signs. Here's the thing. We tend to rationalize them out. We think to ourselves, oh, we just miss them so much, and I made that up. Well, some of these things you can't make up. So I want to tell you a story. I'm going to tell you a couple stories. So I was getting ready for a reading. This was a couple years ago. And I had a couple that were coming in. And as I'm in my office and I'm meditating, I'm getting my office ready, whether I'm saging or, burning incense, meditating, calling in their loved ones, asking them to draw close to me so that I can give them a message. I hear some commotion upstairs in the shop. Well, my husband pops his head in, real quick, just to let me know that a cardinal flew into the shop and they were trying to safely get this cardinal out. Well, if you've been to Hip Gypsy Emporium, there's all kinds of things hanging from the ceiling, and there's branches and wind chimes and all kinds of fun stuff. And this cardinal just felt like this was home for it for a minute. And when he said, well, we're trying to get rid of this cardinal, I'm trying not to make too much noise. Hopefully we'll get the cardinal out before your clients arrive. And do you know, when my clients arrived, we opened up the door and that cardinal flew out of the shop. Just whoosh, just left. Now it hung around for like 10 or 20 minutes of us, not us, but of them trying to get this bird out of the shop. But not until my client showed up did this cardinal fly out of the shop. And when I was explaining to them, oh my goodness, we had this cardinal in the shop, this woman like grasped her, her chest and gasped. And she was like, oh my God, my dad sends me cardinals all the time. And, the cardinals don't just show up, like they fly to me or close to me, or a whole herd of them comes. Her dad showed up before she did with this cardinal to let her know that he was never far away, that he knew she was coming. We talked last week about when you go and see a medium, if you don't want to give me your name, I'm okay with that. Spirit knows who's going to show up. But how amazing is it that this sign that this dad came through brought a cardinal into our shop, right? That hung around until the client left. There's just so many different things that Spirit brings through so clearly that there's no way to rationalize that away. And there's so many other signs that Spirit brings through, and we're going to talk about some more of those after the break. But we're talking about things that I've learned from the spirit world, from your loved ones, since I've been a medium. So we're going to be back in just a few minutes after this break. Um, Stay tuned, and we'll see you in a few minutes.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of The Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on The Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Dr. RC will share extraordinary resources and services that promote educational success, as well as making a difference in the lives of all social workers, as well as the lives of children, adolescents, and teens of today. She will have open discussions addressing many of the issues that we face about our youth and how being employed in the uniquely skilled profession of social work for over 18 years has taught invaluable lessons through her personal experiences. She will also provide real-life facts, examples, and personal stories that will confirm that why serving as a child advocate is extremely beneficial when addressing the needs of the whole child. Listen live to Dare to Soar, Saturdays 10 a.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network, and tune in radio as Dr. RC will provide thought-provoking information that will empower, encourage, and strengthen students, families, and communities across our nation. You can also visit her at soarwithkatie.com.
Hey, welcome back to Connecting to Spirit with Stacey. I'm evidential medium Stacey Niedentohl. This is Connecting to Spirit. We're broadcasting live on Bold, Brave Media and other streaming platforms. If you're just now tuning in, welcome. Welcome. We've been taking the first part of the podcast, and we've been talking about 5 things that I learned from Spirit. You know, not to fear death, that they're always with us. And I was just starting to talk about the signs that they send to us. And I'll tell you, if there are certain signs that Spirit has sent to you, that your loved one has sent, shoot me an email at connectingtospiritwithstacey@gmail.com. I'd love to hear about it. I am always so amazed at some of these signs that come out. So another time, I want to tell you a couple stories. Bear with me. Um, these are stories that, like I said, it's hard to rationalize them out. Some of them you can. You find a feather, birds lose wings, or birds lose feathers, right? So I was doing an intimate group reading. This is again several years ago, and I don't remember who it was that came through for the client that was there, but they were very adamant in relaying to me that they send them rainbows. And both the clients were like, yeah, we see rainbows from time to time. And I said, well, it feels as if like these almost like vibrate and they glow. Like these are rainbows. These are like bright, brilliant colored rainbows. And after the reading and everyone went home, the place where I was doing the reading at got a phone call from the neighbor next door and said, I don't know what you guys were doing over there. And I go to Denise's house once a month in Bel Air, Maryland. Her neighbors know I'm an evidential medium and I come there once a month and I do readings. But they said, I don't know what you were doing when you were over there, but there was this rainbow that went from one side of the house to the other, like it was covering the house. And they sent us a picture of it. And I was like, holy crap, how cool is this? So while I was doing this reading, their loved one was placing a rainbow over the house that we were at. They say it, they say the things that they're going to do and then they do them. And they don't do it half-assed. I don't know a better way to say that. They come through bright and they come through, you just ask them, show me a sign and be specific. Ask for a specific sign. One time, Denise and I were floating around in the pool and we were like, show us a heart in the clouds. And I think I called on my mom and maybe she called on her mom and her dad. And as we're floating around on the pool, like, I don't know, an hour or so later, there was a heart shaped cloud up in the skies. And again, Denise being who Denise is, she snapped a picture of it. Another reading, intimate reading that I was doing, um, a daughter and a teenage daughter or a young adult daughter came through to her mom. And of course, her mom was grieving so badly because she had lost her child. And her adult daughter said to her, Mom, I mess with car alarms and doorbells and, things like that. I make alarms go off. And so the mom was like, well, I haven't had that happen, but I'll be on the watch for it. So again, everybody's leaving the house. And I'm talking to a few clients that were still there. And all of a sudden, outside, I hear this car alarm go off. And I'm like frantically looking around for this woman that I had just given this sign to. And she wasn't in the house, but she came running back in. And she was like, oh my gosh, it wasn't my car. But I was walking past a car that the alarm went off. And the car didn't belong to anybody who was in the reading. The car belonged to a next door neighbor. So the daughter said, I messed with your car alarm. And not an hour later, she's walking outside, a car alarm goes off. So they will send you signs. They will send you messages. You just be open to listening to it. It's one of those things that even if you slightly don't believe, or you slightly do believe that this is the sign from your loved one, acknowledge it, thank them for it, and ask them to continue to send you more signs. And they will. Your loved ones will show up. And when they do, like I said, simply put your hand on your heart and say, I thank you for sending that to me. I saw it. Send it to me again. Dream visitations. My husband is the ultimate dreamer. My gosh, that man dreams unbelievable dreams. And then he'll say, so tell me what that means. I've been practicing dream interpretation, but sometimes when he gives me these dreams, I'm like, whoa, I don't know what that means. Um, but he and other clients have shared with me that before someone passed, they came to them in a dream. And actually, when my sister's father-in-law was ill, I do remote energy healing on people. And my husband and I were traveling, and um, Lee was in the hospital, and it was amazing. Um, so I connected with his energy. He allowed me to come in. And Spirit will show me where they are at in the death process. And it's a symbol that I've gotten probably since I've started. But what they do is they show me a playground. And it has one of those old-fashioned slides that, was at a playground when I was a kid. One of the big metal slides. And sometimes they're standing at the bottom of the steps, which just lets me know that they're kind of thinking about their mortality. Sometimes they're walking around the slide, which lets me know it's not time yet. Sometimes they're walking up the steps, which is a signal to me that they're starting their process to their transformation process to the other side. And other times they're going down the slide, which means the transformation has started. So when I connected with him, he was going up the slide and down the slide and up the slide and down the slide. And he was so excited. And I just kept saying, trying to get his attention and saying, come here and talk to me. And he would go up the slide and down the slide. And he was so excited. He said, don't you see them? And, I'm looking around and I'm like, I don't see anyone. Well, shouldn't I go? And I was like, if you feel that you need to go, then go. But can you do me a favor? Can you come to Jeff, who is my husband, in his dreams and just let him know, goodbye, just let him know that you're okay. And we were traveling and we woke up the next morning and he said, he was telling me about this dream. And I said, but by any chance, did Lee come into your dreams? And he was like, oh my gosh, yes, he did. And he described what he was wearing, and he said, he had this big smile. And he was like, how did you know that? So I explained it to him. So here I am sending healing to this man, doing remote healing, but asking him to come to my husband before he passed. And he showed up. He did it. He did it for him. So many examples that I could give to you. They will show up when you speak to them, when you ask them, come close, show me this. They will. All they want to do, and I don't want to say all they want to do because they have all this stuff to do, but they want to offer comfort to you so that they're only a whisper away. They're not that far away. After my mom passed, and I've told this story quite often, but probably for a week or two after she passed, I would wake up in the middle of the night at 2:11 in the morning. And at first it kind of devastated me because that was the time that she passed. And then I got past the devastation and I remember thinking to myself, why would my mom come to me at 2:11 in the morning to remind me of when she left? And then it dawned on me. She's coming to me at 2:11 in celebration of her new chapter, of her new life. She was coming to me and letting me know that she was okay. My father-in-law shows me 7:11 on the clocks. A lot. Not as much as he used to. But if I'm pondering something or if I'm thinking about him, I'll look over at the clock and it's 7:11. That was his birthday. They're coming in to say, hi, hello, I'm okay, I'm with you. Please don't be afraid. Please don't have any regrets. Let me just show you the sign, accept that I'm here, and let you know that all is well and we will see each other again. So I said at the beginning that there were 5 things that I've learned from Spirit. The 4th thing I've learned from Spirit is when you honor Spirit, they will honor you. So what does that mean? What that means is they will guide and protect you and show you clarity. They'll bring things to your mind that will either make you laugh or make you cry, but they will show up for you. Sometimes we need to go through a struggle in order to learn a lesson or to teach someone else a lesson. But when you honor Spirit and you thank them for this, it may not always make it easier, but you find clarity sooner. So it's all that learning lesson of grief, of death, of the spirit realm. And we can all connect. I'm putting myself out of, appointments, but you don't necessarily need to go to a medium in order to talk to your loved one. Just have a conversation with them. Hey, Mom, how you doing? You know, after she passed, my phone rang. I looked down on my cell phone, it said Mom. And part of me was like, oh, my father must have picked her phone up by accident and called me. But then I swiped right. Hello? And all there was static on the other end of the phone. Probably one of the biggest things that I miss about my mom is just having a phone conversation with her. Well, now I'll take a walk and I have a conversation with her. I'll talk to her about certain things and I'll think to myself, I wonder how she would have handled it. I wonder how this would have gone down. Mom, can you show me a sign if I'm on the right path, if I'm doing the right thing? I want you to send me, maybe I want to smell her perfume, which is funny because when she was alive on this earth, the scent of her perfume drove me crazy. But now, when I smell, white diamonds, I love the smell of it. So I ask her to send me signs, put people in my path. They guided us through life. They will guide us through death. All these things that totally make sense to me now that I had no idea about, before 10 years ago. So that's why I'm explaining these things to you. So if you're on a spiritual path, okay, and you're opening up to the spirit realm, sometimes you have to have hard, truthful conversations with yourself. Ask them to guide you through it. Ask them to help you to see clarity in the solution to the situation. And they will. Strive to be happy. Vibration is very important if you're working in the spirit realm. Vibration, you go into a platform reading and they might be blaring music. They're not blaring music just to blare it. They want to raise the vibration in the room because they want to be able to give to you the most loving message possible. If you can allow yourself to invite happiness in, to invite spirit in, you'll have a new understanding that drama and negativity no longer have any business in your bubble, right? You will rise above it. You will walk through things instead of pushing things down. Forgiving and releasing. Allow faith to come first. And if faith comes first, that very first thing that we talked about, that I learned from spirit, not to fear death. I am faithful in my life. So what's to fear? Make sense? So these are all things that like I said, you don't have to be a medium to walk through. It's something that you can, with daily habits of meditating, of finding clarity, of taking walks, of just finding quiet time, that all of a sudden you might hear this small voice from your loved one. You might, instead of, running errands and not really paying attention, all of a sudden you're noticing the things that are around you. And we're going to talk about number 5 when I get back from this short break here on Bold Brave TV, Bold Brave Media. We'll see you back here in a few minutes.
Dr. RC will share extraordinary resources and services that promote educational success as well as making a difference in the lives of all social workers as well as the lives of children, adolescents, and teens of today. She will have open discussions addressing many of the issues that we face about our youth and how being employed in the uniquely skilled profession of social work for over 18 years has taught invaluable lessons through her personal experiences. She will also provide real-life facts, examples, and personal stories tools that will confirm that why serving as a child advocate is extremely beneficial when addressing the needs of the whole child. Listen live to Dare to Soar, Saturdays, 10 a.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network, and tune in radio as Dr. RC will provide thought-provoking information that will empower, encourage, and strengthen students, families, and communities across our nation. You can also visit her at soarwithkatie.com. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
Hi, welcome back to Connecting to Spirit with Stacey. If you're just now joining, we're unpacking, we're talking about the 5 things plus a bonus of what I've learned from Spirit as an evidential medium. Be sure that you like and share oh gosh, I'm so tongue-tied sometimes. This episode of Connecting to Spirit with Stacey. Like and share it. Subscribe. We're on multiple platforms. We're on iHeart, YouTube, Spotify. But I want to talk about the 5th thing that I learned from Spirit. And when we were getting ready to go to the break, I was talking about if you were on your spiritual path, if you're on a path to oneness of clarity with yourself. So lesson number 5 that I learned is when your mindset changes, it opens up to all the possibilities. You know, you've got this newfound understanding of yourself, of spirit, of your guides, God, the universe, creator, your higher power. There are so many different words for it, but you've got this newfound understanding. And all of a sudden, your energy, your spirit doesn't feel as light. Like you don't dread things. I mean, some things you do, but all of a sudden, you have a better understanding. Being on a spiritual path wakes things up in your brain. And it reminds you of things that maybe you've forgotten about. Just like one of the first times when I was saying about one of the first times I was having a rough time and I went into this deep meditation. And I thought, man, this place looks familiar. Where am I? And all of a sudden, I knew exactly where I was. I was at my grandmother's house. I was at her garden. I was walking around her garden. So when you're on this spiritual path, all these I don't know. It's almost, those bubbles that pop that are in packing boxes. All of a sudden, all these bubbles start popping in your brain to all the different possibilities and all the things that all of a sudden come back and you remember the things that you thought were maybe a coincidence or chances and things like that. And you want to share your newfound thought process with family and friends. And I think that's great that you want to do that. Just know that some may be like, woohoo, where's she going here? But don't let that deter you from continuing to grow. When you have started this spiritual path, it does not give you permission to step over someone else's spiritual path. We all see things in a different way. We all have different abilities. So if someone is doing something a certain way that you don't agree with, don't talk over them and tell them it's wrong. Because their spirituality is going to be different than what yours is. Spirit may talk to them in a totally different way. They may audibly hear Spirit talking to them, where I hear it. I just know that I know that I know. I feel, I have this feeling, you know. Other mediums, other people on their spiritual paths have different modalities and different signs and symbols, just like I was explaining to you what the slide means to me. The slide might mean something totally different to someone else. Doesn't mean I'm wrong and they're right or vice versa. This is what's in my memory Rolodex, right? Poaching someone else's spirit to me is a big no-no. What do I mean by that? I'm using all these funky words. So we all watch TV and we all watch other mediums, and they're walking around with a camera behind them. So it is expected of them to do a reading. If I am out shopping or out at a restaurant and someone comes to me in the spirit realm, I am not going to interrupt someone's dinner to say, "Oh, I'm a medium. Your father's here. Would you?" And totally disrupt them. They may not be ready for it. I don't know how long ago it was that their dad passed. Maybe they didn't have a good relationship with him. Maybe they were already having a bad day. Maybe their grief process was not right. I don't poach other people's spirits, other people's energy and their time. When clients come to the shop, occasionally as I'm talking to them and we'll have this conversation, I'll hear, "Tell her Rose is here, tell her Rose is here." And I'll try and push Rose back. Every once in a while, very seldom, will I say to the client, "Do you know who Rose is?" And this is a customer who walked in the door, right? This is someone I'm already engaged in a conversation with. There's not a whole bunch of people around. And most people who come into Hip Gypsy Emporium already know that I'm an evidential medium. So it may or may not surprise them. And I'll just say, she just keeps telling me to tell you she's here. And I will leave it at that. I'm not going to give her a full-on reading, time and a place. Just like if I'm out and about and you know that I'm an evidential medium and you come up to me and you say, "Hey, what do you see around me? What's going on?" Doesn't work that way. I'm not tuned in. I don't stay on all the time. Spirit has a lot of respect for my passion, for the integrity of what I do. And please don't take it that I'm saying that if a medium ever does, a cold reading on you and comes up to you that it's wrong. I feel that it is. They may not. Um, but you know what? I have to be in the right frame of mind. My vibration level has to be, higher. I'm inviting spirit in. So if you come up to me and you say, "What do you see around me?" I'm literally going to tell you what I see around you. If we're outside, well, I see the trees and I see a fence and I see this. "Oh, no, 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 in spirit." And then I explain to them how it works, right? If they want to set up an appointment with me, totally different. You come into my office, time and a place. So sharing your loving epiphanies with others is great. Just kind of mm, um, have an air to caution a little bit that other people may not be as excited about it as you are. Some may say that what you're doing is wrong. Know in your heart if this feels right to you, it's not wrong. You know, I hear some pretty wild stuff. I really do. In the 10 years that I have been um, practicing mediumship, going down my path of spirituality, I've heard some really far out stuff from people. I'm not going to say to them, "I don't believe your experience." I'm just going to get, what did you do about that? How did that make you feel? Because just because it may not have ever happened for me, doesn't mean that it can't happen for someone else. There are certain things that just are not my gig, right? They're not part of, I wouldn't say my belief system because there's a possibility for everything, but I'm open to it. But not all your friends and family may be open to it. Spirit will ask you to work to the best of your ability, to shine light and love and healing to those around you, to not do harm. Practicing putting positive words out into the universe. I talked about that this morning on my Facebook, my Tuesday Talks at 10:30. I talked about, what you put out in the universe is what comes back. It's allowing yourself to, even in the chaos, find the small blessings. And the more small blessings you find, the closer you get to your own higher self. That's part of the goal, in my opinion. When you can connect to your higher self, all of a sudden you see things in a different way. Okay? So we all have a connection to the spirit realm. Um, what you devote your time to is what will grow. So you plant a tree, but you never water it, tree's not going to grow. Make sense? You plant a tree, you overwater it, tree's going to wilt. So if you are looking at um, lining up your chakras, if you are looking into balance and clarity and yoga and things that appeal to you, the research and the time that you put into it will make it blossom like crazy. When I first opened up to spirit, I read every single book I could get my hands on all different types of subjects because I didn't know where I was going yet. I didn't really know what my path was yet. And I was still having this inner conversation with myself, if this was the right thing for me to do. So I read book after book after book, and I just recently got back on this, and I've always been a reader. Um, well, maybe not as a kid, but as an adult, I've always been a reader. And I recently got back on this kick of reading books. I went to the Omega Institute a couple months ago. I guess that was back in April, and studied under Tony Stockwell, which, oh my gosh, Tony Stockwell. Um, and while I was there, I bought 15 books. I've read them all. I've read every single one of them. I devoted time each day to read at least 2 chapters. And if I missed a day, the next day, I would read 3 chapters, or I would read 4 chapters. But it's popping all these bubbles in my head again. It's raising my vibration. It's allowing me to go, oh my goodness, I never thought of it that way. It shows me what the universe, what spirit, what angels, what God has in store for me. It shows me other people's perspectives on energy, spirit, God, the universe, spiritualism, mediumship, yoga. You know, it's a awesome path to follow if that's where your heart's at. So, faith over fear. That was where I was going. When you put your time, when you involve your time in learning about something, all of a sudden you know it to be true. And what I used to do, and I still do it, not as much as I used to, but I journal. So I still journal all the time. I probably have 7 journals right over here on my desk. But I used to have an aha journal. So when something kind of off the wall happened, I would write it down. And then later, I could come back when I was having a bad day and say, oh, Isabella, oh, car alarm, oh, and it was this validations. So while you were studying and walking in your path, have a validation journal. Choose faith over fear. Trust your intuition and trust that your loved ones are around you, guiding you. So when we get back, remember when we first started, I said we were going to talk about the 5 things I've learned from the spirit world, and a bonus. So when we get back on Bold Brave Media, we're going to talk about the bonus, the other thing that I learned. So we'll be back in a few minutes. Stay tuned, share, subscribe, like, and I will be right back.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of the Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on the Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Dr. RC will share extraordinary resources and services that promote educational success, as well as making a difference in the lives of all social workers, as well as the lives of children, adolescents, and teens of today. She will have open discussions addressing many of the issues that we face about our youth and how being employed in the uniquely skilled profession of social work for over 18 years has taught invaluable lessons through her personal experiences. She will also provide real-life facts, examples, and personal stories that will confirm that why serving as a child advocate is extremely beneficial when addressing the needs of the whole child. Listen live to Dare to Soar, Saturdays, 10 a.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network, and tune in radio as Dr. RC will provide thought-provoking information that will empower, encourage, and strengthen students, families, and communities across our nation. You can also visit her at soarwithkatie.com.
Hi, welcome back to Connecting to Spirit with Stacey. If this is the first time joining, be sure that you like, share, and subscribe to Bold Brave Media. Go to YouTube. We're on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple, and a lot of other podcasting streams. So before the break, I was telling you about the bonus. So we've been talking about all these things that I have learned since being a medium, the different things, my thought process has changed. But there's a bonus to all of this. So once you grasp a hold of these 5 things, all of a sudden you start to find yourself in alignment. All of a sudden you feel more balanced. All of a sudden you feel more peaceful. And consciousness, right, shows you miracles. And you notice them. They're visible miracles that are around you because you're no longer fighting with the daily grind of everything. You've all of a sudden realized there's no place in my life for this, or I need to change this, or I need to change my mindset. Miracles start to show up. A lot of people don't believe in miracles. Oh my gosh, I believe so much in miracles. I see them every single day. I wake up every day. That's miracle number 1. So what Spirit has taught me is faith over fear, and that miracles happen. And you don't have to be special to have a miracle appear. You have to have faith over fear. So these things that we've talked about, not fearing death. Death is not the end of life. It's just the graduation from this life to the next. They're going to send you signs and signals. When you honor Spirit, they will honor you. Changing your mindset allows you to then see miracles. All of a sudden, the awkwardness is gone, and the awareness, it slides through. And even though your loved one has passed, and grief is very difficult to go through, you'll see there's another side to it. Like when my mom passed, I remember thinking, when a friend of mine called who lost her mom, my parents were married for almost 50 years. My mom gardened and she traveled and she danced and she did whatever she wanted to do. And she was very happy. She got sick. 3 months later, She fell asleep and she passed. And I had to look at that as a blessing, that she had this life that she absolutely loved and adored. And she did what she wanted. Not to say that she didn't struggle, because there were struggles along the way. Some I didn't see, of course. She wasn't going to show them to me. But acknowledge the things that you're grateful for in your life. Be open up to consciousness, to having those hard conversations with yourself. And all of a sudden, just like Dr. Thelma quoted, when you heal, you can hear what is being said without the filter of wounds. Our wounds, our grief can sometimes deafen us, close our heart, blind us. So it's welcoming in healing by thinking about just these 5 things that I've talked to you about. And I'm sure that there's more that I could have spoken about, but I thought these 5 were just so important to share with you, to let you know that your loved one is only a whisper away. They're sending you signs. They don't want you to be afraid. They don't want you to have regrets. Go to a medium, receive a message, or sit down and just have a conversation with them. These are all simple things that you can do, but you have to get out of your head, because when you see the miracle, when you see the sign, the human side of us says, oh, it was a coincidence. I didn't really. I remember one of the first times when we first opened up the shop. My mom would have loved the shop. She passed before the shop opened. There was a praying mantis on the porch coming into the shop, and I took a picture of it. And the picture had this beam of a sun, like a sunbeam going right down through this praying mantis. That was my mom. I know it was. That was her sign to show me that. So death is a teacher. And if we recognize it, all of a sudden we can live a better life because we're not fearing it and we're not afraid to communicate with our loved ones on the other side. So for more information about how to contact me, how to set up a reading, do a group reading, go to connectingtospiritwithstacey.com, click on book a reading. You can subscribe to YouTube, share the podcast with those that you feel need to hear this session that we talked about today. Email me if you have any ideas of things that you want us to talk about. But I hope that you enjoyed this conversation that we have. Give me your thoughts. Shoot me an email, connectingtospiritwithstacey@gmail.com. Remember what Dr. Thelma said. When you heal, you can hear what is being said without the filters of your wounds. Know that your loved ones are only a whisper away. And when you work on oneness and connection and you get rid of the fear and walk in faith, then you can truly live the life you love and love the life you live. I hope to see you next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for another show of Connecting to Spirit with Stacey. But I enjoyed talking to you, and I hope that you enjoyed listening. All right, we'll see you next week. Have a great and wonderful evening. Bye-bye.
This has been Connecting to Spirit with Stacey. Tune in each week as Stacey delves into the journey of life, healing, and spiritual connection, inviting listeners to open their hearts, clear their minds, and create the life they love. Right here, Tuesdays, 8 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave TV network, powered by B2 Studios.